Chapter 9, Not the Way We Want. Just before Samhain, getting near the end of this route. Our girl still hasn't been whisked off to ferry yet. We arrived at the club room soon enough, and the first thing I did was hit up the showers. Okay, actually, while the others went to meet up with Velos, I took the opportunity of being alone to completely go to pieces. Like a serious freakout alone in the club. Because, well, I felt I deserved to dissolve into hysterics after everything that happened. Absolutely fair. It was about a half hour after that, I hit up the showers. No one had come back yet, and I had no idea what was going on. And I mean, I kind of smelled bad still. Oh, this is a new background, look at that. Fortunately, there was no one else at the school, at least no one else I saw. I walked down to one of the locker rooms alone, trying to not let the dark, creepy halls get to me. It was in there that I first got a look at the horrific mess that was me. I mean, it could have been worse, but my hair was a stringy, limp mess with bits of stuff in it. I wasn't sure I even wanted to know what that stuff was. As for the scratches on my cheek, well, they could be worse, but they didn't look great either. Thanks, Brenna. I'd had to be sure to give those a good wash in the shower. I was dubious just how helpful it was going to be to have Brenna lick it. She might be a cat, but I wasn't. And that was a whole level of weirdness I wasn't quite ready to face just yet. For now, I just wanted a shower. I quickly stripped out of everything, wishing I had another change of clothes. I was pretty sure I'd gotten bog germs on what I'd been wearing. But there was nothing for it. I'd have to make do. I was seriously contemplating putting in a request to change the name of the bog. I just hope the stink won't literally last forever. I turned on the shower and quickly stepped under the warm water. That was when I realized how cold I still actually was. Most of me felt heavenly under the hot water. The rest of me felt like someone set fire to me, especially my poor feet. For a moment I just crouched in agony and let the water drum down on my back, sending muddy streams down the drain. Eventually I stood and took to trying to get the muck out of my hair. Not easy, but I did the best I could. At the very least, it kept me from thinking too hard about everything that had happened. When I finally turned off the shower and stepped out, I felt reasonably cleaned up. I grabbed one of the scratchy towels and quickly dried off. It would have been nice to have a hairdryer, but I did my best to towel dry my hair, knowing full well it was probably going to frizz out later. Because, why not? Nothing topped off a traumatic night in the swamp like looking terrible the next day. Huh. Hello, you. On my way out, I passed by a row of mirrors, and this time, I almost wasn't even surprised when my reflection wasn't what I was expecting. Even your clothes changed. Does that mean... I have questions about the switching back and forth between changeling. Like, is the clothes part of their body, like their skin? Or are they clothes? And if so, does that mean, like, her clothes never get washed, so did they just smell like bog water? Or were they in the shower, and so it got cleaned? Almost. I knew she'd been lurking, at the back of my mind, out of the corners of my eyes, sneaking into my sketchbook. Now that I was seeing her face to face, I couldn't work up the emotion to be scared of her, though. Maybe I was just too emotionally drained. White hair. I stared at the glacial blue eyes with a sort of detached curiosity. She was so familiar. Who are you? Are you me? I put my hand against the glass. My reflection stared back but didn't answer. Well, it wasn't my reflection. It was a reflection. The reflection of someone I knew nothing about. The eyes were cold and remote. It wasn't me in there for sure. I didn't know if I was really sure of that, or if I was just trying to reject the possibility that maybe I wasn't me either. But even if I could see a bit of myself in the lines of her face, she seemed older than me somehow, far older. Where are you trying to take me every night? The reflection didn't respond, which, I mean, I was glad. If she started acting on her own, I'd have been out of there in a flash. But no, she did nothing but mirror my expressions and gestures. Are you the one who hurt my brother and made him hate me so much? A quiet whisper tugged at the back of my mind, and I knew somehow that whisper held answers. But suddenly I felt afraid. Whatever she had to say, I wasn't ready to listen yet. I jerked my hand away from the mirror and took a step back.
Nora? Are you okay in there?
Allie?
Yeah. I just got here a while ago. I came to check on you. I heard you talking.
I looked back at my reflection, but the white-haired woman was gone. It was just me again. I sighed, half in relief and half in... I don't even know what. Yeah, just talking to myself. I stepped out into the hall. Allie was leaning against the far wall, waiting. She eyed me worriedly as I joined her.
Are you okay?
Yes? No? I don't know. I'm okay because I have to be okay, I guess.
Well, the good news is that we've confirmed Mark and Elliot's story. I mean, I hate that we even had to, but you know how it is.
I didn't really, but I wasn't going to argue.
Danny was pretty mad no one told him what was going on. Or disappointed, I guess. He gave us all a very fatherly lecture. Especially Elliot.
Poor Danny.
They had a pretty long talk alone, but I think they're okay now.
So, that guy that Elliot, are they?
They're in the hospital. Critical condition. They lost a lot of blood, but there's a good chance they'll make it. At least partially due to Elliot. Mark's guys also got him to a hospital quickly.
Sorry, can we back up to Mark's guys? Mark has guys? Nunny?
Anyway, after we met up with you guys, Velos caught up to us. He was with Danny and me to begin with, but we got separated briefly. Anyway, Mark led him to the feral, but it got away again. At least they managed to prove there actually is one of those things hanging around. I mean, it's almost definitely the real culprit behind the killings.
Ugh, I feel like such a jerk.
You're not a jerk.
I assumed the worst and ran away from Elliot like he was a monster. I treated him the same way Spencer has always treated me. Is stupidity genetic?
Speaking of Spencer and stupidity, what happened with him? He's why you left, right?
Yeah, I'm not sure where to start, actually.
Come on, tell me as we head back up. Now that things are kind of sorted, Velos is tearing into Elliot and Mark. I think you're next. Just a word of warning.
Oh, goody. Anyways, Spencer just kind of exploded, I guess. I mean, not literally. That would make my life infinitely easier, but the mess would probably be a nightmare to clean up.
Very funny.
Look, this has been building for days, I think.
I doubt getting into a screaming match in the middle of the hall helped much there.
Hey, he and the school psychologist are stalking me. I think I was entitled to screaming at him a little.
Ugh. You and your brother both. Is this some demented contest as to which of you can be the biggest pain in the neck?
I wish that's all it was. He was waiting for me in my room when I got back this morning. He's been aware of the sleepwalking for a while now, I guess. And he found that journal I've been keeping. I wrote it in that damn language we made up as kids because I thought he'd forgotten it. He told me he had.
Let me guess. He lied.
Apparently.
Ugh. What exactly did he read?
Oh, just everything. About the club, about my research, about me. suspecting I might be a changeling. So he feels completely vindicated. As far as he's concerned now, I'm a fake. I need to give his real sister back and stay away forever.
He has nothing, Nora. That's just a theory.
Allie, he knows. He knows everything. We are going to have to talk to him. Or you are. He's not going to listen to me at this point. I can't even be in the same house with him right now. He was really threatening. It may be a theory to us, but he's convinced. I don't know what to do now. I can't go back. Not with him being like that. And at this point, I don't even know if I belong there. Maybe they aren't even my family.
Nora.
I thought she was going to tell me how melodramatic I was being. Heck, even I thought I was being a drama queen about it. But she seemed to think better of trying to console me for now. She just sighed.
Look, for now we can text your mom and tell her you fought with Spencer, so you're spending the night with me. That'll buy us some time to figure things out.
Yeah. But I wasn't sure time was going to make much difference on this one. I'd been trying to figure this out for a couple of weeks. One more day wasn't likely to yield any earth-shattering revelations. Not to mention figuring out how to reverse a changeling exchange, even if we were able to confirm I was one. And even if we could do all of that by some bizarre miracle, where exactly did that leave me? I didn't even want to think about it. When we reached the club room, Velos was still yelling at Mark and Elliot. Danny was there as well, leaning against the back of the sofa, listening in. Allie and I just stopped in the door and listened wide-eyed.
I told you to stay out of it and you ignored me. Did you think I was saying it because I didn't trust you? I didn't want you to endanger or cast more suspicion on yourselves.
And yet we did the exact opposite. We were able to rescue a victim and lead you to the culprit.
Though you may notice it still got away. And what if you hadn't been able to track it back down? Do you know how much trouble the two of you would be in right now? And might I remind you that you barely managed to corner it before it escaped. You could have been injured. You were lucky. Stupidly lucky.
I was merely confident in my ability to track it down. If you'll recall, we told you before that we believed it to be a feral, but the agency elected not to believe us. Instead, they imposed a curfew on our entire community, preventing any of us from being able to look for it unless we disobeyed. And they put Elliot, the only vampire at the agency in any official capacity, on leave. What else were we to do?
Velos let out a heavy sigh, but didn't respond to that.
Without us, you wouldn't have a single lead right now. At least now you know what you're up against. And it isn't us.
Ahem.
Allie cleared her throat softly. Everyone stopped and looked up at us. Well, with Velos it was more of a glare. At me specifically.
Nora, you're back. I'm pleased you could join us, Miss Lewis.
I waved awkwardly, getting the feeling he was definitely not pleased. Hello?
Do you have any idea how foolish it was to keep your problem to yourself?
Well, he didn't waste any time jumping right in there, did he?
You could have been killed! Why on earth would you hide something like that from us? And that the rest of you knew about it and kept it secret as well is beyond my ability to comprehend. What were you hoping to accomplish with this ridiculous secrecy?
I don't know.
Do any of you understand that my job is to protect you? How am I supposed to do that when you insist on hurling yourself into dangerous situations?
I mean, I didn't really hurl myself. He shot me a glare and Allie elbowed me in the side. Shutting up. Velos took a deep breath, rubbing his forehead. He looked really tired, actually. Like, he'd aged a few years in the last couple of hours. Poor Velos. He just wants to keep his kids safe. Poor guy. I guess he really did worry about us.
Miss Lewis, have you any idea why you've been leaving your house at night? Because until this feral is caught, we cannot allow it to continue.
I don't really know. I mean, I have a theory.
May I hear it?
Well, when Brenna found me earlier and led me back to my house, she said something that sort of aligns with what I've been feeling. See, I kind of think I might be, a changeling. Velos visibly started at that.
A changeling? Are you certain?
Well, no, I'm not certain, hence I think I might be. I don't know why I'm leaving my house, but every time I have one of these episodes, it's like I'm half asleep while someone else controls my body. So I was kind of thinking maybe, I don't know, maybe I have some memories locked away or something, and I'm being driven to go out and try to find my way back to Fairy. Brenna said something about me trying to find a gate. And Elliot mentioned there's some fairy gate that opens in the area this time of year. I think I might have been looking for it. Unconsciously.
That's plausible, perhaps, though I'm not sure how it relates to your changeling theory. But we can't allow you to continue to look for it. If not because I suspect your family would not appreciate me allowing you to be whisked away to Fairy.
I don't know about that.
Then because it's too dangerous for you to pick right now of all times to do it. Have you given any thought how to protect yourself from this compulsion?
I thought, at least for now, we could tell her parents she's staying with me tonight. I could keep an eye on her.
You'll be quite busy tonight. Too busy to look after her.
Oh, what if she stays here, at the club? Someone else can stay with her.
I can do it. I mean, if she's okay with it. I haven't really been reinstated yet. I don't know if I will be at this point, so...
Velos tipped his head back and regarded Elliot quietly.
Regarding your reinstatement as an intern, leave that to me. But for now, I'm willing to entrust Miss Lewis to you for one night. If you assure me you won't do anything foolish. As soon as it's sundown, we'll stay put in here. I'll watch her the entire night and stop her if she tries to leave. I've seen her do it before, so I know what to expect.
Staying alone in the club room with Elliot overnight? I wasn't sure how my mom would feel about that. I wasn't sure how I felt about it. Though it didn't seem like I had much choice.
I suppose it can't be helped. I'll be gone most of the day, but I'll come back to check in on you during the night then. Mark, you are coming down to the agency with me for now. Ali and Danny, the two of you should get home. Guess will assist you in dealing with your parents. You've been out far too long. Thanks. If my dad figures out I've been out of the house all night, he's not going to be happy.
Same.
Everyone left after that, through the library door. Though they didn't go to the actual library. I was honestly too tired to be overly fascinated with it when they went through, though. Allie gave me a hug before she left, told me everything was going to be alright, and made Elliot promise to watch over me. Danny didn't say anything to me, but after a weirdly tense moment between him and Elliot, he finally shoved Elliot's shoulder lightly and told him not to do anything dumb. Again. I was kind of relieved to see they were okay. And after they all left, Elliot and I were left alone. We sat in awkward silence for what seemed like a long time. I was too tired to actually fret about the awkward silence like I usually would. I was expecting him to eventually say something, but he never did. It was probably for the best, though. I didn't think I was really in a mental space to talk about what had happened earlier. I leaned against the sofa and curled myself around a pillow. It was still way too damn early. Probably nearly 4 in the morning. I shut my eyes and just tried to forget everything that was happening, at least for a little while. I drifted off with Elliot still sitting beside me on the clubroom sofa. I awoke with a start. Where? It took a second for it to dawn on me that I was in the clubroom still. Elliot was also still with me, sitting at the end of the sofa looking down at his phone. I shifted and he looked up at me, smiling slightly. Did I fall asleep? I mean, I obviously had.
For a bit. I thought it was best to let you.
I stretched. My head was still fuzzy, but I felt a little better. Sort of. My hair was still a little damp, but it had dried significantly. How long?
Maybe 3 hours or so? Not really very long.
3 hours. Not much, but I did feel at least somewhat refreshed. My hair probably looked crazy, but not much I could do about that.
Hey, wanna go get some coffee or something? Or we can stay. You could probably sleep a little more if you wanted.
I'm awake now, I think. Mostly. Probably wouldn't be able to get back to sleep if I tried. I punctuated that with a yawn, definitely an incredible indicator of my wakefulness.
You sure about that?
I made a face at him, trying to wrangle my hair into submission. Well, I guess we can. We just have to keep an eye out for my mom. I left a note saying I'd gone out with Allie.
It should be fine. It's still pretty early anyway. You've been wanting to see where else the door goes to, so let's check it out.
Is it okay? I didn't know why I asked. It wasn't like I'd been exiled to the club room. I just felt like I should be dealing with things. Spencer and all that nonsense. I wasn't even sure how much of that situation Velos was aware of. He kind of had bigger issues at the moment.
There's nothing we can do until we get specific direction from Velos. So for now, we just have to sit tight. And wait. So coffee is definitely allowed. He didn't tell us we had to stay here or anything. Besides, I could use some coffee too. Still feeling a bit woozy from earlier, actually. Coffee might clear my head.
Oh?
Yeah, I mean... that person. They're, well...
He looked away, rubbing the back of his neck awkwardly. You can talk about it. I'm not going to freak out this time, I promise.
Well, their blood was really full of venom. I spit most of it out, but it's hard to not swallow some.
Ick. Don't you have super vampire regeneration?
Yeah, but it still takes a while to deal with things like poisons and venom. We recover fast, but not instantaneously. And I'm only an infected vampire. My recovery ability is nothing compared to someone like Mark.
Are you sure you're okay then? We don't have to go anywhere.
I'll be fine. Don't worry about me. I'm more worried about you, actually.
Well, I'm alive. That's what matters. Everything else will somehow fall into place, I'm sure. I'm sure I won't be kidnapped out in broad daylight if we leave this place. I stood and stretched, suppressing another yawn. Okay, I guess I'll let you show me where the weird magic door leads. I paused, contemplating that. Never thought I'd say that to anyone. Elliot just laughed and stood as well.
Let's go then.
Elliot led me to the door and did a slightly different knock than the library one. When he opened the door, instead of seeing the huge library on the other side, I saw a sunny courtyard. It felt a bit like walking into another land, for sure. I was just glad it was warm, and there didn't appear to be any witches with suspicious sweets lurking about. We finally made it to the courtyard in this route. Hooray! I stared in amazement as we passed through the door. Where even is this? The trees were green, and it was definitely too warm for Pine Hollow.
Not sure, to be honest. I've heard it's somewhere in the Mediterranean or something.
Feels too warm even for that.
Maybe it's Australia somewhere. It's spring there now, you know.
Okay, that's just weird. How can you travel to the other side of the planet through a door?
Well, magic?
I just shook my head as I looked around. I mean, it's beautiful.
Yeah, it's nice. We have lunch up here sometimes.
I thought going off school grounds for lunch wasn't allowed. He just laughed.
Well, they let us bend the rules occasionally.
I followed him to a door on the far side of the courtyard. When we stepped through, we found ourselves in the murder. Elliot leaned down to me.
I can't remember if I mentioned this last time, but the cafe exists sort of partially in the real world and partially not. The staff can exist in both spaces, but customers are only in one or the other. Anyway, this entrance leads you into the paranormal side of the shop. There are a few other cryptics here right now. Just wanted to warn you.
I looked around the place. I mean, it looked the same as it did last time. It did feel a little strange, though. Hard to put my finger on what was strange about it. Regardless, there were only a few other people there. They all looked normal as far as I could see. But then appearances didn't seem to mean much on this side of things. Good morning! You're up pretty early, Mozzie, considering it's not even a school day.
Yeah, kind of a weird night, to be honest.
So I've heard. He's already heard about that? News definitely got around fast, didn't it? Well, for these wizard boys, it sure does. So I guess you're here for help with...
Just coffee, actually. We came through here because we were at the club room.
Ah. I wasn't sure why he seemed surprised by that. In that case, why don't you follow me? Merle led us to a table near the front windows and seated us before retreating for some menus. I stared out at the familiar town square. Through the window, I could spot a few cryptics lurking about. Not so many people yet, though. As Elliot said, it was still pretty early. So why did he think we wanted help with something? He seemed pretty surprised when you said no.
Well, due to their line of work, I think they just have a knack for knowing when someone has a problem of some kind on their hands. Since we came in through the back, he probably thought we were here for that. I mean, it's not like...
We don't have a problem on our hands?
Yeah.
I see. I guess that makes sense. Sort of. As much as any of this made sense, really. Hey again.
Hey guys!
Ugh. Man, I was not ready for Corbin this early in the morning. Yeah.
Wow! A date? Congrats!
He handed us our menus, grinning at us the whole time. In a weird way, I sometimes miss Corbin. He's so ridiculous.
It's not a date.
Oh? Are you sure? Actually, it kind of is, so thank you. I shot Elliot a teasing smile. He had turned bright red, as expected. But, while I wasn't going to deny, I found it pretty funny to see him get all flustered just from that.
Nora?
What? You think it's not? I mean, if you don't want to be on a date with me,
No, that's not it. Okay, well, I don't want to interrupt your totally not a date that maybe actually is a date, so I'll just be on my way. I'll return in a minute for your orders.
He shot us a grin and a wink before he trotted off, somehow managing to walk face first into the kitchen door on his way in. Checks out. Ouch, that looked like it hurt.
Yeah.
I looked his way. He still seemed a little dazed. I bit my lip, trying hard to suppress the little grin. The way he got embarrassed by every little thing was way more endearing than it should have been. I definitely should have been worried about all the things and not, flirting. But Elliot made it too easy, and the distraction from everything else was pretty nice. I reached across the table and took his hands. They were cold as always. Funny how I never noticed before how pretty his hands were, especially for a guy. His skin was so pale, too. I guess that was the vampire thing. I could see the pale blue veins interlacing just under the surface. I looked up at him, but he was just staring down at our linked hands. And, weirdly, I found myself wondering what he'd looked like before being infected. Was he this pale before? What color had his eyes been? Blue? Brown? It was hard to imagine him without purple hair, but I kind of wanted to see that. I realized there was a lot about him I didn't know, and that I wanted to know, that I hoped I had the chance to get to know in the future. Hey. He looked up at me slowly. Thanks for dragging me out here. I think this is really what I needed.
Oh, no problem.
His gaze dropped back to our hands, that tinge of pink still creeping into his face. It wasn't like we hadn't held hands before, but I guess it was different when neither of us was sad or crying. Oof. And we weren't being chased by something. I didn't quite manage to hide the soft smile on my own face. I mean, maybe it was a bit presumptuous to call this a date, but that's what he meant it to be when he asked me out last week. And while we weren't exactly doing what we planned, we were still out. Together. So it counted. At least to me. And I was surprised to discover that I wanted to spend a lot more time with him going forward. For that moment, that brief moment, everything else receded and I was able to pretend it was a normal day. A normal date. And none of that ugliness or darkness was waiting for me outside the cafe. Aw, she got such a nice smile on her face. But even if I wanted to enjoy it a little longer, the moment passed. A loud couple passed by outside, jarring me out of the reverie. I gave Elliot's hands a final squeeze before I let them go. I sighed softly and looked Elliot's way. Elliot, actually, there's something I need to say.
What is it?
I'm really sorry.
For what? You don't have anything to be sorry for.
I do. I feel like I've been terrible to you. A terrible friend. A terrible everything. I said terrible things to Allie. I thought the worst when I saw you out in the woods, and
Hey, you've been dealing with a lot. I mean, a lot. Nothing you've done was wrong.
Thanks for being understanding. It was! It's okay to admit I've been a jerk. I don't know if you're just a masochist or what, but you're allowed to get mad. You're allowed to admit I was wrong. Elliot laughed awkwardly, twisting his fingers together as he stared out the window.
To be honest, I feel like I'm the one that's been pretty awful. I said I'd look out for you, and I just totally dropped the ball on that. Instead of worrying about you, I worried more about proving my innocence. Because you didn't want the others to know about me and Mark, you kept the sleepwalking secret.
No, that's not why I kept it a secret, and proving your innocence is important.
But it put you in danger. You got dragged into my problem when you had your own to deal with.
I feel like danger and the supernatural go hand in hand. I would have been in danger either way.
Yeah, sometimes they do. But I wanted to be the one to protect you.
You have. You've helped me more than anyone else.
I don't know about that.
I don't know why you're so hard on yourself all the time. You keep reassuring me that I didn't do anything wrong, but neither have you. Look at everything you've been dealing with this whole time. You got unfairly suspended from your internship, even though it's something you love. You had to deal with being suspected of murdering people, or at least with wanting to cover it up. You had to put up with Mark while looking for the real killer, which, by the way, probably took the patience of a freaking saint. And if that wasn't bad enough, you had to babysit me while I've run all over the place being a hysterical drama queen about everything.
I don't think...
Yes, I have been. Elliot, you're an amazing person. You're stupidly kind, patient, and way braver than I am. I freaked out at the sight of that person I found, and seeing you. It had to be frightening for you guys as well, finding bodies and injured people. You just calmly dealt with it all, doing the right thing, trying to help everyone. I bit my lip hard, trying to somehow make him see what a great guy he was. He was a vampire, and he was awkward and silly and sweet and way more mature than he seemed when you first met him. He totally needed someone nicer than me, less high-strung and with fewer identity issues. Aw. But even if that was true, I liked him. And I needed to tell him that. So Corbin, shut up. Merle, restrain that boy. Elliot?
Yeah?
I just want to tell you that... Freaking... The amount of cock blocking on this route is insanity. I can't. I just want to smooch this boy, and everyone and their pet cat is in the way.
Orders ready yet?
Of course. Thank you, Corbin. Neither of us answered. I had no idea what Elliot was thinking, but I was doing my best to not strangle Corbin.
Have you two even looked at the menus?
We were having an important discussion, which you totally interrupted. Don't give me that face. I think it must have been obvious I was irritated because he took a step back, holding the menus in his hand over his face. Maybe this wasn't the best place for a dramatic confession anyway. Look, I really just want an Americano, okay?
And you, Elliot? The same thing is fine. Nothing to eat. We have a really great cream cheese bagel with lox.
Not for me. Thanks, though. Elliot just shook his head. Corbin clicked his tongue in disapproval as he took our menus back. Well, I'm so sorry.
I hope you two know that breakfast is the most important meal of the day.
You're worse than my mom, Corbin. I hope you know that.
That's mean.
Corey, are you taking orders or just standing here talking?
I got their orders.
Then why don't you take them up to the counter? Corbin pouted as he retreated back up front. I take it back. I don't miss Corbin. Merle shook his head slightly and sighed. Sorry if he's badgering you guys. It's fine. He's just being himself. So, badgering you? Well, a little, I guess. Merle gave me a long, silent look. He narrowed his eyes slightly and was quiet just long enough I started to feel uncomfortable. Are you really here just for coffee?
Yes, we are. I told you that already, Merle. Can you not?
Merle frowned slightly, leaning down over the table as he lowered his voice. Take it easy, Elliot. We don't force our services on people, but we do want to make sure our customers know what all is actually available to them in this shop, especially when they have problems we can help with. You keep acting like you know exactly what my problem is. It's actually kind of annoying that you guys keep being all weird about it. Look, Nora, none of us can see the whole story just by looking from a distance. We've just observed something of a cloud of confusion hanging around you, that's all. If you want, I can have...
Look, if this is the part of the story where I get some dramatic revelation about myself, can you please just save it for after I've had coffee? Because I had a really long night, and quite honestly, if anyone drops a bombshell on me prior to getting some caffeine in my system, I'll probably just tear their head off and kick it down the street. Merle snickered softly, but he did straighten and take a step back, a small smirk on his lips.
Ah. Well, that would be a problem. With me gone, there's no one around to deliver the food but Corbin. And if he does it, it's going to end up in your lap.
Yeah, that would definitely suck considering all we ordered was some hot coffee.
We're not going to make you talk to us. But if you change your mind, just remember that I'm certain we can help.
I'll remember that. Maybe when I'm less cranky. He nodded slightly and left us there. I watched him going, chewing the inside of my lip.
You okay?
Yeah. I mean, I just wonder what it is they think they can help with. If I really am a changeling, then it's not me that needs help, it's the person whose place I took.
You don't know that you took anyone's place yet. Maybe you're misunderstanding the situation, and that's what they can help with. You can always hire them and find out.
I don't know that I'm ready to go that far just yet. Whether it was sleepwalking, hearing voices, or being a changeling, I knew it was all connected, and I just wasn't ready yet. Not yet. Though I didn't think I could really keep putting off finding out the truth.
Well, whatever you decide, just remember they don't work for free.
No one ever does.
Hang on a sec.
He hopped off and went to the counter. I watched him speak with someone there for a few minutes. I sighed softly and looked outside, wondering if all this really would end up okay or not. It wasn't long before Elliot returned with our coffee.
Wanna go for a walk instead of hanging out in here? It gets kind of oppressive on this side sometimes.
I glanced outside. I was still a little worried about being seen by Mom or Dad. And also, there were so many cryptics. Well, is it safe?
We can go down to the bakery or something if you want. Or we'll just stay close by outside. They have tables. Might be a little cold though, but I just thought you might be more comfortable out there.
Thanks. I didn't argue as he helped me stand, then started outside. I followed quietly, but I could feel someone watching. It was Kaya. She was still standing at the counter, just watching us go. I looked away quickly and tried to ignore it.